has won.
Are you gonna give me orders?
Hey guys, welcome back. We are finally ready with soO vs Drogo. Apparently soO went to go get crowns, according to the overlay. So he's going to draw out his super elaborate plan, right? Okay, the first map is going to be Eternal. And he's going to draw it out on like the restaurant sheet of paper. And he's going to be like, make roaches, attack with roaches.
You do know wrong. You don't grab crowns like this, though. You like with like finger and film. You actually just go with your like you know like the whole fist grip. And he's just like, I'm gonna attack like here, big arrow. And he's like, and my bases are like around here. And he's like, yeah, that seems good. And then like big X over like Drogo's base. It's like, I can just see like soO with like a little bit of a thinking face as well. Like, yeah, that seems like a great plan.
This is perfect. I just imagine like Rogue or Dark over his shoulder, just like patting him like a good little kid at the restaurant. I do believe that is soO's plan, though. We already kind of went over it a little bit. soO was just about to hop in, that dastardly little guy, and he's here now. But yeah, we said that soO probably is going to make a lot of roaches, and Drogo's going to be like, "Why do that to me? That is so unfair." But you know, it's a little bit of a joke. I do think the actual execution will be quite close. I should say that I did give Drogo a map. I do think Drogo can do really well. I think that he should have gotten used to Korean ZVP as much time as he spent over there in Korea. And I think he's feeling good about StarCraft right now. Plus his memes are fantastic, so that gives like a plus 10.
Yeah.
But my biggest reservation was that it's cross-server, which has been notoriously difficult for the Protoss more so when it comes to how you work out with the potential ping problems. Zergs get us around and they collapse in. It's more about them positioning well and then collapsing in. As for the Protoss, they gotta spam storms and force fields all at the right second. So that was my biggest consideration. So I did guess soO winning this with a 3-1.
Yeah, I think Drogo as well here, because he's in France, I think his ping is actually, as we get in game, we're going to start off this best of 5 between Drogo and soO. But I do think Drogo's, because he's in France, his ping to West and Central is a bit better. So actually the fairest server between these guys is West. So that means that Drogo is playing, well, I would call like worst case scenario versus a Korean without actually being on the Korean server, you know? Which just adds a little bit of intrigue to it. So I'm excited to see this kick off and excited to see what they have to play. soO types out good luck with a couple of dots. Maybe he isn't feeling so good against Protoss. As in the bottom left, he is our red Zerg. It is soO.
In the top right, as the blue Protoss, we have PtitDrogo. Raise Your Edge Gaming.
Yeah. A fairly new team in StarCraft 2. Picking up players from the start of this year. And I would say, you know, it goes pretty well if you pick somebody up and they get second place in Katowice, you know. I'd say that's a fair success. And that's exactly what Zest was able to do for their team. So it's been cool to see a team join and get some success right off the bat.
Yeah, absolutely. Really cool to see such an established team come into StarCraft rather, not back to. But yeah, picking up Zest as well, which already had one person ask for no spoilers. So until we actually make it to a match that requires spoilers, we'll try and hold off on that, I say. For you guys. Just for you.
Yeah?
I don't think there are any today, now that I'm looking at it. That's maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, I think we don't have to worry ourselves with that. We leave that to the pros. We're already in day 9. They can do the spoiler-free bits.
They are going to accidentally spoil, and they're going to get all the hate tweets. I'm just going to sit here.
You guys thought opening day sucked. Look at us now.
Right? Yeah. I do make it a habit.
But yeah.
Yeah. I do make it a habit to watch GSL, even if it's an insane hour, because I'll never forget being made fun of for not watching the GSL broadcast 3 hours before I had to cast at 8 a.m. in Montreal. So thanks, guys.
I remember that one as well. That was great.
There is actually a really cool build in GSL that I don't think will appear today, but if it does, I'm gonna have to break that promise to you. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you're gonna get spoiled too. Awesome. I'm gonna seem like a big brain spoiler.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've adapted to a life where I can just accept spoilers, so I'm not too worried.
Right? Yeah.
Doesn't hurt so bad.
What's that?
I was just saying, it doesn't hurt so bad.
Oh, does it hurt so bad? Gotcha.
Yeah.
I thought you said it in forehead so bad, and I'm like, well, that's the description.
Okay, I'm going to try and incorporate that one in the casting later.
It's like saying LOL, and I'm just like, no, Wardy, don't get sucked into it, man. So, talk a little about the game here. To give our predictions, some of the problems that could arise for the players, but soO does have a little bit of reputation as a roach guy. It's a roach boy, just kind of stays on roaches. Drogo is going to know that, and I really do feel like he has more. I don't know. When I thought of Drogo maybe 2 years ago, I was thinking of Legacy of the Void 5 years ago Drogo, where he could not handle Zerg. And to be fair, Zerg was like really all in the beginning of Legacy of the Void. But that was very unfair because that's a very old Drogo. But especially in the last year, I don't know. I just feel like his mentality is really good and his play has been really cleaned up. And he has had the experience of going to Korea multiple times. So I really want to have faith with him. Of course, our first non-Korean showing up. But, he also starts off with letting Lings into his base. So, like, super cool. Way to jinx it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, great job, right. CG. We were just about to have a really cool opening. It was macro focus with the Stargate. And now there's Lings in the main, albeit they will only get to one probe, but there's so much more than this, right? I'd say the biggest thing is, A, you get a scout. Yeah, you get to see it's a couple oracles. You also use all of that oracle energy. These oracles have no energy now to go across the map. So suddenly, soO, yeah, he's probably going to need smoke crawlers eventually and so on, but he just knows there is nothing aggressive coming his way. And he can also maybe make a decision to say, well, if he has less oracle energy now, maybe I can do something on this third base. He's going to show up with these Lings. I don't even think these oracles have energy to activate Pulsar Beam. They don't.
Yeah, they don't.
I mean, that's sad. Very sad.
And Drogo's thing is Adepts out too. Like the one benefit I was going to mention is that, well, the Adepts are still alive. He didn't just sacrifice them in an attempt to get something in revenge, but he then immediately sent them across the map to get some revenge, which I guess soO was maybe even banking on a little bit. He did lose Overlord coverage in the natural, so he doesn't have like 100% information. But once again, finding Drogo a little unprepared, canceling the Nexus, delaying it for a hefty amount of time. Of course, got some minerals with a cancel as well. Drogo really actually has to pivot here. He was already investing into it's usually like third base and then everything on the production tab you see right now. But then with the third base being delayed, even by a handful of units, it's now everything on the production tab, then a third Nexus, which just is very unfortunate.
I mean, we're almost in all-in territory, right? Like plus one charge and just, maybe build a third Nexus because you deal a bunch of damage and you can fall back to it, but it feels like you're just getting ready to go as Drogo, which is definitely not his original plan in this, is now the Oracle's taking some more hits, also just not finding damage here, as soO will escort this drone to the fourth base, and we'll be able to get that down. Lings are going to come back for the third base again. Don't tell me it's going to cancel again, CG. No.
I think he
Drogo.
might be, maybe, save it. No, he really wants to save it. He's not going to cancel.
Just going to get it. Wow, that's a good call. He needs to save that as well. Like, if he loses this Nexus again, he's in, he's already late on the Nexus. He's in so much trouble already, I would say, but if you lose it one more time, obviously it just expands on that. So, nice save. Absolutely necessary save, quite frankly.
Yep. Finally going to be able to, I mean, ideally this is like finishing up almost, and his probes are getting to work immediately, and maybe he stops building probes if he wants to hit a +1 attack, but he has the option to build probes, anytime actually, but just further worse mining, as soO has been pretty comfortable, despite, having his army on the other side of the map. Whenever Drogo's army was on his, like, it worked out favorably for soO every time. So he's been on a decent amount of workers, fourth base, got a Roach Warren, so a +1, and Roach Speed, and it's also grabbing a Spire. Now that could actually matter for an incoming push in terms of just getting a couple of mutas and killing the War Prism. Or if it's just harassment killing the War Prism, I mean, either one is pretty good, right? But you have to make sure that you are not about to be hit, and build 7 mutas that can't help with a main engagement. Overseer getting some good scouting information. The Oracle's passing by. The War Prism will show itself as only harassment. And soO could choose whatever tech option he wants, actually, right now. Oh, no, Drogo is sending units across the map. Just, a bit of a beeline here.
He is probing those. This is not really intended to be like an all-in or anything. This is just a bit of pressure, and maybe soO over drones, maybe soO isn't prepared. Of course, I think that's unlikely given the scenario, and soO is just going to be forced back. So this is good for Drogo again, because you've got to remember that this isn't really a big commitment. He's got probes behind it. Obviously, the Zealots he's losing here are now Zealots which do cost him, and I feel like he's just not getting very many kills. These Archons just haven't really been on top of these Roaches at all, and well, he even warps in more Zealots. So Drogo really is trying to make something, make quite a lot happen here. First Archon goes down. rest of these Zealots taking a few extra hits, and, well, only 2 Archons left in the prison. They will get away, but honestly, it kind of feels like Drogo didn't need to or want to commit up this high ground at all, and then he just still did.
Yeah, that was, I feel like I see what he saw. There's always that chance that the Archons finally do get a couple of shots off on the Roaches because they've run out of room to maneuver, or, the Lings have all gone or something like that. And then suddenly things do turn and you can try and basically get a snowball. But they never really got connections. Those Zealots were just constantly kited back, and the Archons really need to actually get some damage done. Now he's going to have to bring everything back home to hold against the immediate counter. He's got Immortal on the way as well. Saving that one very low HP Archon is really nice start to this, but the Immortal on the top there, okay, actually saw it. He's going to bring that down to the low ground, and it's actually soO this time who's going to overextend a little. Did not grab too much. Just one Archon did finally go down.
It's a little unfortunate, right? Because if you get these 2 extra Archons, it's almost okay. But then he does lose a lot there to not really kill a lot. Yeah, just overextending a little bit, misreading the situation. However, Drogo has got 0 preparation for this. His Archons can't get into the natural because they're walled off. So these mutas get straight in. They're going to get 5 probes off the bat. And they're going to probably just go for more probes. I'm surprised almost he doesn't chase them to the main base and instead pulls away. He does have more mutas arriving, though. So it might just be a case of waiting on those.
Yep, seems to be. Drogo's going to desperately try and get a Phoenix, but, one of those things that I noticed with the push, they didn't have a lot of sentries. There was not a lot of opportunity to hallucinate a Phoenix into the main base. Hopefully that push would have gotten some decent amount of scouting seen. Mutas if they were being built at that time, if soO was caught a little off guard. But no, they were successfully hidden very well. And it's, even if Drogo doesn't lose here, from a position like this, I feel like it's rare I've seen a Protoss player really come back, just because it's always so hard to try and get on the map again. The Zerg player behind this can do a lot of what they want to do. Max out, get a 5th base, tech up. I guess the one good thing is that he only lost 11 probes instead of like 20 plus, but also, well, we kind of know soO, right? So if you do just say, okay, just keep calm and defend your 3 bases, build up an army, soO's likely to just attack with another layer-based army. So that's the good news, but the control of the game goes to soO right now.
Yeah, and soO will just be kind of all over. An Oracle or 2 show up, and they will get a Queen, and that's just soO not preparing back at home with a single Spore Crawler. So that's a bit of a shame, as we do see him. Well, the mutas are going to get in here now, and the Oracles will both go down, so we will eventually catch that one when it has to make a turn. So yeah, kills off a couple of Oracles, but loses 6 drones. It's nice counter damage after the mutas did quite a bit. So here's the next issue. The Lings are out. The +1 melee is very soon to finish. And now you've got Banelings joining this army as well. And because Drogo has had to build Phoenix, he's not had a chance to build Storm, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have a Storm, some with like lower amount of Banes, you can force field. But okay, ZG, tell me where the sentries are. There's one. One force field to save this game? I don't think so. No, did he drop it on top of the Archon, I think, as well? Yeah.
Yes, he did.
That's also not how you force field. So unfortunately, this is just going to be units crashing through, and Drogo is out of here, and soO will take game number 1 of our best of 5, just like that.
Yeah, I would say still the good news was that he knew what to expect. Probably, I mean, it's easier to hold. But it's actually maybe not even true, because he did get a 2nd Stargate. Not that 1 extra Archon or 2 Storms. I think would have made up a difference like that. soO defending the attack after delaying the 3rd Nexus for so long, getting a good muta bop on top of the probes, and the sacrifice of the Roaches was just intentional as well. Just wanted to make sure he wasn't thinking about potential for mutas. Very clean game there from soO. Drogo needs to get that better start. There was that hiccup after hiccup after hiccup for him. So he has a cleaner start, more into the build that he wanted to do with that really nice timing on that Zealot attack. No sentries, no Immortal, and a lot of sentries, no Immortals. They can hit pretty fast and ferocious. It can get that snowball effect, but I think with everything else that had gone on already in the first 6 minutes of the game, it just wasn't going to do what he wanted.
Yeah, I think once you like I say, the Lings didn't really do a lot, right? But then they activate the Oracle energy, so then the Oracles don't do very much. So then you just don't really slow soO down at all. So when that attack does arrive, soO is very well prepared for it. He does very well in that situation. He does, he gets pushed back up the ramp, but overall he cleans out, right? And then the counterattack maybe wasn't so great, but in a way, maybe you could argue it forced units so that he wasn't as prepared for Mutalisks as well. It just felt like soO had control from the start, and it was just those firstlings getting in. And against somebody like soO, you can't make a mistake like that as Drogo. So Needs to sharpen up going into the second map, which will be Simulacrum. And we're going to be in that in just a moment to see if Drogo can indeed begin to bounce back in this series.
Yep, Simulacrum against Zerg player. I don't know. I just think of this map and I think of that wide open space around the third, and I'm like, scary as a Protoss player. But we'll even get that far. In the top left, representing Team Rye, raise your edge. It is the blue Protoss, Drogo.
What is with soO's intro? Like, I don't think I've ever seen him type good luck before, like all out like this, and he does it twice in a row. soO, our red Zerg in the bottom right hand side, is from Afrika Freaks as well, and yeah, a new take on saying GLHF.
Maybe he wanted to learn like proper English, and someone got as far to tell him as like, you spell good luck this way. You put a space between the G, the D, and the L. And he put a period at the end, you know, and they're going to get to capitalization in the, like, you know, next lesson. But the guy accidentally sent him 2 periods. And now it just looks ominous every time. Like there's some other meaning behind it.
Yeah, it really feels like he's like, good luck. You need it.
Yeah.
Especially after that first game, like, he's like, is it even worth wishing you good luck? Like, there's
That's
so
what
many
I'm
ways you
reading
can
into
take
it.
Yeah.
But probably not. It's also possible that they became pseudo friends. You know, the latter experiences when you're over there in Korea, eventually face each other over and over again. You eventually find out who everyone's barcode is, or close to it. Although that's not always who they are. But anyways, and maybe they do have some camaraderie, but I don't know. Maybe soO just that's his new thing. Type good luck, and you know what? It's a mental thing. Already instilling fear into his opponents' hearts.
Yeah. I'd be terrified if someone types good luck at me with 2 dots. I'm already tilted, you know. My first is
I mean,
consider it's dead, and I'm just done.
I'm not tilted because I'm scared. If I'm on ladder and someone does that, I'm talking to my stream and I'm like, this guy, this punk. Okay, all right, like okay, I'm gonna just totally slap this guy, and then I, you know, get overzealous and die. But either way, it's a mind game.
I'm gonna slap this guy. I guess slapped yourself. It's like, damn it.
Yeah. Oops. All right, so I really do want to emphasize that I feel like Drogo can hit a strong timing. You know, this guy, he actually did a really nice blog years ago at this point, 2 years ago, I want to say, about like the details and how he thinks through a series. And literally, he wanted to do it after one of his tournaments where he went into saying, okay, this is what I was thinking, and this is what I did, and this is what I should have done. And it was really cool insight to see how he thinks. And I know that he can get a build down to a T. And when you do that with that charge out Archon attack, and you're not making any room for an Immortal, you don't really have any sentries, it is just like pure power and fast. I really feel like that can't overwhelm someone like soO. Imagine if that's like 6 less roaches. The queens on the front line either to tear down the oracles, help tear them down. I really do think that is something that overwhelms. Suddenly it goes from, oh, it's plenty of roaches, to, oh, well, they got shot by the Archons. Oh, they got surrounded by the Zealots. And now this guy is in trouble. So am I saying he's going to do exactly the same again? Maybe, actually, assuming that he gets his build order down this time. He doesn't get interrupted. And now that he knows soO is the type of guy to not just make these lings to defend, but actually go across the map, I mean, I think it's likely he'll get that third Nexus the way he wants it.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of like that Drogo's just like not thrown off by the first game. He's still going to go for the Stargate opener. The Stargate typically that very safe way to open, right, compared to like a Twilight Council. But if you ask me, like, you know, let's say Drogo's like the underdog in this game. If you ask me what the underdog's going to do, I'm not going to say a Stargate. I'm going to expect Twilight to take that risk of opening Twilight to get the Adepts on the map and to try and deal damage there, or maybe like the Dark Shrine opener. The Stargate just says, you know, hey, you know, I'm confident I can get into a macro game. I'm confident I can get 3 bases up, and I just want to get there safely. So I really like the attitude that Drogo sort of shows by just going Stargate twice in a row. I think that's very cool.
So I was pretty sure he slapped on the third Nexus before this. And then, of course, it was canceled, so that's unfortunate. But he does slap down Twilight Council Forge, then Robo. Oh, so still looks similar, but I guess he doesn't waste investment on trying to get a third Nexus when he figures he can't.
Yeah.
I actually think he can. I mean, his Adepts are back home, his Oracle has energy again, and looked like he was just being pretty cautious. But this time, he'll be able to save it. So soO gets a scout on that at the very least, heading up towards that lair, and yeah, there's the Roach Warren.
Yep, just gonna go lad, just gonna go Roach Roar, not really too crazy in that regard, right? It's just setting up for the mid game. You need those roaches, you know, help you defend certain Protoss timings. The lair's gonna give you the tech to get roach speed. And I would imagine that if soO kind of gets past that roach stage, she's probably just going to play a Ling Bane kind of style again, which we obviously saw him eventually end up on an Eternal. So not really much to talk about from soO's point of view. And from Drogo, obviously he's just getting his upgrades and getting ready to go. I think the big thing to say is maybe how aggressive does Drogo get off this, right? Because in this scenario, his +1 and the charge are pretty quick because he put them down before the Nexus. So there's absolutely a chance that he goes across the map and tries to take advantage of that with a few Archons or so. So that's I think going to be the next defining moment of this game as all of those extra gates come up.
Yeah, this is the real test of the build, I feel. Because this, well, it was maybe not, Nexus, then this, and maybe that's a little bit cleaner. Like, this was not interrupted. This was not a hiccup where he goes, okay, shoot, like I have to reconfigure here. The only thing he really changed, well, besides the tad later Nexus, was like he also put a shield battery. He really doesn't want to lose that Nexus, as he is going to be the aggressor very, very soon. Yes. So we'll get to see what this attack looks like with about as much, perfection as it can get. soO is going to be able to scout this. He is once again investing into that second tier tech. Not a Spire, though, an Infestation Pit. So Swarm Host Seize might be on the way. But I don't know if you do it now. You see this attack, you know how fast it can come across the map. It's actually already here. So I don't think you go on a Swarm Host. Just start spamming that Roach button. Yeah,
he was a bit supply blocked, though, for a little while. So he's not really been able to get his Roaches up very far in advance. I will say, obviously, this is just 3 Zealots and 3 Archons at the moment or so, or maybe even a bit less than that. And the Queens do get the first kill. Single Ling across the map, sees no saturation. Now soO knows for sure exactly what's going on, right? So, more Roaches, maybe Ravagers are warping in the main base. That's obviously just going to start doing a lot and something that soO has to respond to. But this gives the other army opportunity to go elsewhere, and it will start moving to the third as a depth shade in the natural. soO on top of this for the moment. Let's see how he does with the Archons. I mean, the Archons aren't that scary without a Warp Prism, though. Too exposed. Did he really commit as Drogo? No. So yeah, soO's going to be just fine. And Drogo has to get into a late set of probes for that third base.
Yeah, this was I think he figured that the all-out attack wouldn't work. He was warping in quite far away from any production points, so to overwhelm was a little other question. The similar build, but different execution is a cool idea. But soO was all over it, and not just because he reacted to the main base. To have Roaches of the natural against the Adepts too, that was actually just, it seemed like he knew exactly what his plan was. As soon as he realized there's no Warp Prism on his creep, I guess, he was like, oh, I know where that's going. So unfortunately it doesn't work out. There's still a potential to do some harassment, and it is really important that Warp Prism is alive because you have Swarm Host, and it's the only way you're going to get across the map. But Drogo not getting any success with an attack that probably is usually more brutal than this. And now he's going to have to defend against neither Swarm Host, which is, that's super fun, right?
Yeah, you're right. The attack, it kind of felt like it fizzled out before it even started. It just didn't really seem like it had much luck anyway. I love this. There's even some Locusts back at home to help defend these first few Zealots coming in as there's some Warp Prism harassment. We will see these Locusts starting to drop down. They're just going to go toward the third base, and they probably could have positioned themselves better than that, but they're going to do their job of just giving these Roaches a lead in so they don't take any damage. As soon as the units start to get on the Roaches, soO will back away. You want to trade out the Locusts here, just never the Roaches, and that allows you to sit on a lower drone count basically forever in this game, because you're never actually losing units which cost money, apart from a couple of Roaches here and there. But this is the sort of fight which I wouldn't expect him to commit to. He will get an Immortal, and he will get an Archon, though, so getting important tech units like that, that's the sort of time where I guess you do kind of trade out the Roach Ravager.
Oh, I'd hate to be so bleak, but I don't know. Something about Swarm Host Nidus makes me feel pretty bleak. It's scouted, and it actually does draw some Locusts, I guess. But when does it end is always that question. You bring up that you can be on a lower drone count, so you can really pack your supply full of these Swarm Hosts. If you start off aggressive, if you're not barely holding on and forced to use defensive Locust waves, you just get to consistently do it. And any pickoff is great. Even if you're picking off 6 charge lots, that's still it's still better than whatever they're taking away from you, which is usually nothing, maybe a handful of Roaches that are easy enough to reinforce.
Picked off a Forge just after +2 finish, so that was maybe a bit unfortunate. But in general, right, it's keeping Drogo here and there. He's going a couple different directions. It's hard to know exactly where he should be. He's got Swarm Hosts in the main. That's really bad, because they're going to get on top of that Nexus really quickly when they fire, if they fire. soO does need to actually make use of them, and he does now. He's just got so much Roach Ravager on the low ground. I will say, I feel like soO's Swarm Host could be doing better. Oh, a big Stasis Sword. But just before we talk about that, I just want to say quickly, like, I really feel like these swarms could be doing better. It feels like the Locusts are consistently like dropping down on the first couple units on the first thing they see. This could have been a Nexus kill through and through. And that's way more valuable than the couple of gases they did find, as the Zealots across the map dealing a lot of damage as well. So drones are dropping as their stasis ward fades.
It is important to try and get something out across the map to bring them back, to take away their focus from just continuously Nidus swarming and trying out their Locust. Maybe they mess up the Locust control, as you've been pointing out. But it's usually, like, this is not enough. It has to be consistent. And that War Prism died. And Twilight Council died right before the probes slapped down that Dark Shrine. The timing was actually so brutal. It was really sad. I think Drogo realized what was going to happen. So you're right. Could have been a Nexus kill. In this case, it denies the Dark Shrine inadvertently. But the War Prism also got taken out. So now soO can once again focus all on the attack.
Yeah, this time the Locusts are going to start dropping in on top of this army. And there's a few Archons in the front, which do a great job of splash damage, but those Archons are also going down very quickly here. Roaches in the mineral line. Zealots try to charge in and deal with those. The Archons just go down so quick, to the point where, soO's just like, hey, I can fight these Immortals. How often do you say that as a Zerg player? Well, not very often, let me tell you that much, as he's going to continue through. Maybe not the right decision in the end. He gets one more Immortal. He's still maxed out, though. This is so affordable for him. Yes, he lost some Roach Ravager, but he's completely fine to lose a little bit for getting all of the Archons, getting an extra Immortal toward the end. He's going to have the Locusts ready to go once more, and Drogo's just like, yeah, I do not want to fight another wave of that. He GG's out, and soO will take that 2-0 lead, looking commanding so far in this best of 5.
Unless you start the Swarm Host game on their side of the map, it's really difficult to come back. Even if you do, it's still pretty difficult to come back. And he kind of, wasted the opportunity to be on soO's side of the map by doing the push that he's been doing, which again just didn't work out. It's really unfortunate though that Drogo is just. I feel like he's had a lot of success with that build, and now he's like, shoot, like hold on, I need to reconfigure here, which is going to be difficult to do in the midst of a best of 5 after hoping to come out strong with this build. So, and now soO has also shown that he can play after the post Roach game in multiple ways.
Yeah, it's this entire game just fell apart on the build order, right? And instead of doing the game, it felt like it fizzled out before it even started. It felt like the few it was 2-3 Archons and a couple Zealots at the front. That was never scary, which meant that he could send the entire army into the main base to defend the warp in there. And then Drogo just tried to swing around with the Archons, but you're never going to commit to the third base with the Archons while your Prism is in the main, because you're going to lose the Archons. And you can't lose the Archons in this fight unless you're winning the game already. So it just felt like Drogo's plan. It almost felt like he tried to be too fancy. I feel like if you just warp in everything together and you push then, and then maybe you send a couple of Zealots into the third base, or you get the Warp Prism later on, it just felt like he tried to be too fancy too quickly, maybe. So it fell apart. And obviously, soO's defense on top of it was pretty much perfect, right? He was in the right places, so it made it look even worse than it maybe even was as well. It's worth keeping in mind.
Yeah, I think soO has always had the Roaches just in the nick of time, or even, with plenty of time to spare. I also think that it might just be one of those things where, like, should you ever expect soO to overdrone? I mean, the guy usually is the one building Roaches to attack you.
He was supply blocked when he needed Roaches, which is I think was actually the scariest part of Drogo's push. Wasn't even his push, it was what soO did himself, Like, he hurt himself getting supply block. That was probably the scariest point. Well, soO looks great so far, and he's up 2-0, and I'm going into Zen for a third map.
That's going to be a spicy map indeed. Well, it's not as spicy as it could be, but yeah, I have some comments about this one. In the top right, up 2-0, it is the Red Zerg, soO.
Does not change his good luck strategy either. Is in the bottom left, giving out the regular GLHF. Our blue Protoss from France is PtitDrogo.
And I do agree with you. I feel like if he had just done the all-together attack, maybe towards the north, it might have done better. Getting on top of that production right as I should say, the Roaches are popping can really be the nasty effect you look for. But if you just let them all come together, it gets a bit easier. So. Yeah, I'm trying to emphasize that can work, because I'm sure there's people out there that are like, why do you such a terrible build? Choose another build. And it's like, well, there's the reason. These guys are pretty smart. They're the pro gamers, right? But it's not working here. So then we end up on Zen, which, obviously Drogo let through in the map vetoes, so he doesn't mind it. But no matter when this comes into a game, and I feel especially when you're down 2-0, I don't know. Zen is Not because of what we see here, the blocking of the other hole in the wall and Zerg's being aggressive early on, but just the way that your units go through the middle of the map. Oh, no, I hate it. I hate it so much. It's such a... You have to consider the map, you know, this and like Golden Wall. You really have to consider the map when you move out.
Yeah. No, it's Zen is always such a weird one. And I always thought that it was just terrible for Protoss as well. But some Protoss players, I feel like it's like that 50-50 split where some Protoss players are like, yes, I never want to play on this again. And they don't. And some Protoss players are kind of like, well, you know, it's not so bad because if you wall like this and you move like that and you kill the Zerg right here and there, and it's like, well, yeah, that's a lot of ifs. And they're like, yeah, but, you know, I'm great. I make that happen every time. It's like, well, okay then. So, yeah, it's definitely a map where you can't, I feel like going into it 0-2 down, like you mentioned, is like horrible, right? Because if you're playing a little bit off, if you maybe like a little bit like, you know, you've got the last game on your mind, like you can't get out your mind and you forget like, oh, move your units in that certain way. Otherwise, everything runs everywhere. You know, it just feels like the map where little mistakes can become game ending so quickly compared to the other maps, which just don't have, you know, on other maps you can just move across the map and there's no pathing issues or anything like that. So, yeah, it's a funky one definitely for a third game when you're 0-2 down. And Drogo will change things up. ZG's going that Twilight Council route. So, potential for Glaives. We have seen a lot more Dark Shrines lately as well. So this is no Robos. This has to be like unless it's a very late Robo, just Glaives and then maybe not even a late Robo, so just Glaives.
Sure. Okay, yeah. Well, we have been seeing this quite a bit, right? You brought up the Dark Shrine as well, and we do see this. That is a follow-up. Actually, Mana does this a lot.
I'm gonna go Dark Shrine right away.
Okay, so this was this. Yeah. I'm with you. This feels off time for an Archon drop, but like, yeah, okay, whatever. You know, it's maybe still gonna match up well. So maybe. That's a surprise to me because I was actually gonna go into like how I think this might actually be his plan on Zen from the get-go. Maybe it's because he wants to mix things up. And that's totally fair. He's down 0-2. But it also could have been a Zen idea for those adepts because they can get through the middle of the map pretty quickly. Just like, you know, Lings can, those one-space units. But not going into the Archon drop, not going to be any surprises. Like, soO actually, I mean, is soO just like a big brain? He went 2-base lair. And, I mean, he's obviously going to have Overseer. He's going to have Roach Speed as well, if I guess this was adepts. But, yeah, the detection's not going to be a problem. He digs into what I would say is an older build, but one that we occasionally see throughout the past year or two, and it can throw off your Protoss opponent, that's for sure.
Yeah, the third hatch is like, I do feel like this is more like a soO's going to be super good against Adept setup versus against DTs. There's not really a harm in having the earlier third base, but obviously, yeah, yes, very fast Roaches, +1's already started. Roach speed can sync up with it, and it's almost just like a big, well, it is just going to be like a big +1 Roach time and after shutting down the DTs, so we'll see how it plays out. It's definitely a bit unique. It's not something you see every day in the PvC.
Yep. Well, of course, Drogo scouted this with the Adept. Probably figured out what build it was, too, without getting too far into the main base. And the Overseer is prepared. DTs won't do very much. Often they are not meant to do a whole lot, but it's always nice when they find a couple of drones, a couple queens, right, without the Overseer quite ready to go. But now their job has become Archons, and not just to continue harassing, but also for any emergency defense you might have to muster up here. Morphing them in the middle of the open like that is always a bit dangerous, but now he gets to turn on these Roaches that do not have speed. They're not on creep. He's going to try and get some kills where the queens can't protect them from the War Prism.
Yeah, this Archon drop's doing pretty well. Gets a few Roach kills already. soO just pumping out those Roaches. 5 more on the way, +1 missiles and Roach speed soon to come. But I feel like when you've already lost a lot, that's... I feel like this is already pretty painful, right? You've lost so many Roaches, so you're then looking to make use of your Roach count aggressively. And now it just doesn't feel like that's going to happen.
And I feel like they've been more than the other games. There's a lot of like, you're doing this thing, aren't you? Okay, I need to do this thing now. Like Drogo, I didn't get the timing exactly on when he got the main base scout or his last third hatch scout more appropriately, but yeah, if he'd figured out the build, maybe that's why he never started Resident Glaives and instead stopped down what seemed to be a later Robo, which means that he doesn't have to commit to any aggression. He can actually go back into like full-on macro mode while having a War Prisma 2 Archons against someone who's, even if they didn't attack with +1, would be, you know, usually up ramps against chokes, against microable Immortal Archon. That's always tough to do. So I feel like Drogo actually comes out of this really nicely, even though soO didn't take any damage from the DTs, that's not what the Archon drop is really looking to do, despite what it, seems like it's the goal. It's not. It's the Archon drop controlling the game and allowing you to macro. And the supplies don't look so bad, but soO does grab a fairly early Hydralisk Den, once again mixing up those choices. He went Spire one game, he went Station Pit one game, and now we're on these Hydras. But Drogo, not going to die anytime soon. He's going to have Charge, Storm, +1, and a nice Immortal count.
Yeah, it feels like this is the game where Drogo has all of the tools, right? He finally feels as though he's set up well. He's done damage early. It feels like the build was arguably a bit questionable, perhaps from soO as well. But it's given Drogo this opportunity to maybe turn this series around a little bit, because now what's soO going to do? Well, Roach Hydra has to be aggressive, and Drogo is set up to defend perfectly. You've got that Storm, like you mentioned. You've got everything you need. He keeps a bit of pressure on the map with the Prism as well. And so I think it's going to be very difficult for soO to get done what he needs to get done. He just about manages to get a 4th base down after it being cancelled once already.
Yep. soO not getting that big burst of economy like he would had he gone for a typical 3rd base, had he gone for a macro build with 4th base, quicker than this, but rather having to catch up to Drogo. It really did feel like he controlled this game better. So this is, the first time I felt very confident for Drogo. that Infestation game, the Swarm Host game, can really break Protoss players. I'm so glad to see that it has not. And I think Drogo should also feel pretty good about this. He has an army that most Protoss players feel pretty good about, Archons included. You still have to, this is actually the game we really get to talk about the potential, server issues. This army in the middle of the map, surrounded, it has some trouble, but I would say soO with no Banelings. Yeah, I think that Drogo can really do this. Like, the Banelings are the scariest part for the Storms, but if they're not here, if there's not a surround, then he should be able to size up this army correctly and actually take out this 4th base.
Great initial force fields as well, and worth mentioning, there's not really any Ravages in this, so you can't break those force fields. So soO is a little bit stuck on what he's playing with here. First Storm is good on those Roaches. More units trying to show up. The next Storm is a good zoning Storm. Now soO's just kind of running through the Storms, though, and he will start to get on top of High Templar. Warp Prism quite far back, so pickup micro is not really a part of this. soO is kind of holding on. I just see these units starting to melt. The Hydra damage is doing a lot, but the Archon morphs in right on top of these units, and we'll get some good shots off. Only a few units left here for soO, but of course his reinforcements keep running into this, and now it's only 3 Immortals, no Storms left or anything else, like what we've been seeing previously. And I start to feel like soO can hold this off properly now, as Drogo is kind of running out of steam.
Yeah, I keep on miscounting these Zealots as Drogos, but they're not. The Immortals, that one's last barrier might just be able to save it. Nope, doesn't get into the Warp Prism in time. Another Immortal actually gets rallied across the map to help out, as Drogo thought maybe this was just enough of a razor-thin edge to make it work, but it wasn't. A surprising hold. I really thought those Force Fields and those Storms were going to cut it, but I think the Immortals not being microable by the Warp Prism, it was so far back, actually was really what made the defense there for soO, since they were actually... when those important units, the Archons and the Immortals actually get jumped on, is when they tend to fall off. They need those charge outs in front. They need the micro to happen. And soO not only holds against the push, but holds his 4th base as well, has an upgrade lead for at least another 20 seconds. Drogo has another chance in this game with a 4th base on the way and nothing to kill it, but he was really hoping for more in that engagement. He was hoping for a win, probably.
Yeah, it also hit at the perfect time. It's like just before soO has a Lurker den up, so there's never going to be Lurkers in this. Now soO doesn't even think about Lurkers. He's just going to take Roaches and Hydras and Dropper Lords into the main base, and these Dropper Lords might just unload in the main, and we might just see a GG, because Drogo is so out of position. Yeah, he can probably recall a crossover here, but it's going to be a recall into the units. This is going to be bad, because either way, you're either recalling into a bad position, or you're losing a lot of production before it happens, and well, either way, it's not great. He is getting some damage done across the map. 5 workers killed, looks like a DT in the natural. But this drop into the main base is going to do major damage. But there's no Overseer here, so the DT warp-in will defend it. Okay, well, that went a lot smoother than I thought.
Yeah, even if the DTs get cleaned up here, they've already done tons of damage. Taking out the Hydras pretty quickly, and 2 of them still survive. All 3?
Yeah, this is really sick.
Yeah, that was a sick defense. Now, the biggest loss right there is the Templar Archives, which hopefully Drogo recognizes. Uh-oh.
Yeah,
he will want future Archons and Storms.
Yeah, he's staying on 6 High Templar, which is good, right? But it's just, you want so much more than that. Especially against Lurkers, Archons can be nice and tanky. Maybe they're not the best at cleaning it up necessarily, but
Yeah, they're nice ones to keep alive, as we do see the Hydra's getting a Zealot to the side. A couple DTs will wander across that far right, and they'll continue to look for some harassment. I mean, the last one got about 8 workers, so DT's absolutely seeming to get damage done here as the Spine Crawler isn't ready, and soO will have to pull back to shut this down. Already losing 3 drones, and the DT's also about to hit in the 3rd base.
Nice shift click there to make the maximum use of the DT. And this one also doing some serious damage, taking the control away from the main attacks as well. soO's moving against the Lurkers on the north side, but I think he's getting enveloped. And then he was doing an overload drop in the main. They didn't really work out. And yeah, the Lurkers all alone. A really perfect army was there to match it. I mean, soO, he still has the supply, but he is losing what seemed to be like really good control. And he just lost really expensive units that take a little while to make while having to go all the way back on his side of the map. Drogo is going to be safe for a little while on 4 bases with an increasingly better army, adding in more of those high power units, the Immortals and the Archons. I think he now realizes I can't morph Templar Archons, but Dark Templar Archons could cut it for a while.
Yeah, soO really, after that defense, soO really had the advantage, really, and he's kind of letting it slip away. And it's slipping away very quickly, in fact, as we see the another drop in here. Let's see how, I mean, this time he accompanies it with an Overseer. And Drogo is out on the map, so it's possible to deal some damage. It might even turn into a bit of a base trade. Drogo's going to turn around. He's going to walk in a bunch of Stalkers here, and he will recall as well. So his initial units are doing a bit of tanking. Wow, that was not the recall I was expecting it to be.
No, it was not. I think that was a misclick if I had to guess. This time, 2 Lurkers harassing the probes is much, much better, and that will fully deny the mining. The Stalkers, I think, was just like maybe even a ping thing, to be honest, but he thought he could maybe take down the Overlords. He was not quick enough, and they don't have blink. They can't really hold up on their own. soO is in an instant grabbed control over the game again with having dealt with the harassment. It looks like the Warp Prism, I guess, went down to something. A couple units in the middle of the map were lost while everything was going down. And Drogo, he was starting to get a decent supply, like 160, started to feel a little bit more comfortable. Now he's down to 140. His army's all over the place, and he's still losing probes.
Yeah, it's a nice storm on this ramp, though. Nice couple of storms on these Hydras. Of course, the Lurkers, generally good zone control there as well. He's diving in for those High Templar again, and a lot of units on low health. He just gets the last storm off. soO backs away from it. He still has a Lurker behind this 4th base, and that 4th base might die soon if you're not careful. Drogo trying to push down this ramp to clean out, but there's just some Immortals on the top side, which are just exposed on their own. And that's the issue. It feels like Drogo is constantly almost fighting himself with the positioning. 3 High Templar died to the Lurker shots. I mean, his Lurkers didn't get shots off before because they were because they didn't have high ground vision. But as the High Templar came down the ramp, he gets some major kills the 4th base, and soO really is in control of the game at the moment.
You know, if that 4th base didn't go down, I still am hopeful for Drogo. But without that 4th base, you know, this initial 3 bases, they're also getting mined out here. Nah, I don't think it's going to happen. soO can only remake such an army so many times with his gas limitation. Everyone to a 5th base, or well, just now getting to a 5th base and trying to get to Hive too. Had he made another mistake, like just 2 battles ago, losing the 6 Lurkers like he did, Drogo might be able to stabilize, counter pressure, hold the game momentum a little bit, but instead everything fell down like it did. Now he's going to take a forward 4th base, hoping that this will help protect against that multi-pronged harassment. Obviously, it's going to be closer to his opponent, who has the upper hand right now, but I like the idea. I think it might just be able to work. And soO tries to split for a concave, a surround, but actually just splits his army half and half, which means that maybe Drogo can take it on.
Oh, Drogo needs to start casting those storms across the front as the Zealots continue to run on the upper right side of your screen as well. It just feels like Drogo doesn't quite have enough, huh?
I feel like that should have been an F2. Well. Yeah. Regardless if he F2'd or not, the attack from the Zealots were on top of whatever they were chasing. We need to be back here protecting the High Templars, protecting the Archons, and this army also should have been just a little bit faster. Instead, everything gets caught once again a little bit off kilter. But soO eventually does get cleaned up. He took down the Nexus, I believe maybe a cancel. He put so much gas into upgrades. The supplies actually don't look that different. Don't look so bad.
Yeah.
Can he do this? Can he at least get some momentum back here?
Yeah, I think soO's losing a little bit too much, right? Because he is losing a lot of roaches when he's diving in, killing those High Templar, but now he comes forwards again. This time it's really great, and these Archons are very low as well. These High Templar have Storm already.
Oh, no.
He's not going to cast it, even if they did. It's not really the perfect moment, but it just means that now you still press forward to soO, and you're going to get yourselves, maybe not quite another Archon. Those High Templar are seconds away from Storm Energy, and getting that Storm Energy is massive, obviously, because then soO's going to struggle a lot more to dive in on this, and well, DTs right now are amazing because there's these little bits of harassment are going to get so much done. There's just a DT in every mineral line, and soO doesn't have the units to just leave leave units here and there to deal with the DTs. So this is big. soO taking big damage.
What a back and forth game. So many drones going down to the DTs, and they might even be able to escape. Maybe not, but they certainly made up for their mineral costs, more specifically. Drogo, I mean, barely hanging on, it felt like, but I feel like it is so much because soO is making these gas-intensive decisions, both in his army as well as the upgrades. He might have been getting a little bit ahead of himself, trying to already get into the hive. That said, as soon as he completes the hive lurkers, theoretically, lurkers should never die again. They can move out of storms, they can move out of bad positions, they can even pounce on an army even more than what he's been doing. So it is a trade-off, but it's one of the reasons I think that Drogo has potentially made it back into the game. soO has finally gotten a 5th base up and running and gas mining too, though, so his Remax is looking better and better, even as he gets those upgrades.
Can't believe he lost 25 drones. That's just crazy amounts. And then he's just been rebuilding drones ever since, just to try and stay basically where he was before. He will find this DT at least. Of course, DTs are still an investment from Drogo as well, worth keeping in mind. And Drogo did lose a few workers to some lurker harassment. So it's not like soO went completely unhindered in the last few moments. Did you see this army pressing through? Lurkers getting set up, but the storms are really good so far.
Yeah, but is it enough behind those storms?
Yeah.
The storms, this entire game, they've been good. They just can't quite kill all the units.
No Overseer.
And the lurkers, oh, wow, that's an excellent choice. The observers are still available. No Overseer to kill them or to attack the DTs. Drogo, with the amazing DT usage, both kills 25 drones and then gets an emergency warp in to beat back this army that was really scary. Because those lurkers, the numbers weren't quite there to be super scary, but they did eventually have both upgrades. With range first.
Can you imagine he just has an Overseer? I feel like if he has an Overseer, these lurkers are still standing there, just having a great time, and just this game's pretty good for us still. Now he just loses so much more because he doesn't have an Overseer. And how many times has that happened to soO in this game? Too many times, I think. I know it's like a scrappy game where it's tough to find money to maybe make 2 or 3 Overseers for your army. But if you keep losing your entire army to DTs, you just have to make that investment. They're more important than the extra lurker or so. We're going to have another fight now. This time there is an Overseer and it is not going down. And we also have the first few lurker shots going well. There's lurkers reinforcing from all sorts of odd angles also. But now the first Archon goes down. The High Templar storming here and there, trying to be conservative in their usage, trying to make the most of their energy. It's just chaos all over this map.
Yeah, I do love the Queens coming forward, transfusing these lurkers, allowing them an extra 2 or 3 shots is pretty amazing. I believe that was the last storm. He does manage to get the Archon, but the Immortal walks in and gets its shield immediately popped, takes a lot of damage too. There are 4 lurkers available, and Transfuse's team almost all gone. So if you got a Zealot warp in, from 2 different directions as well, maybe. I think, he's got to evacuate the 4th base. Don't let your units get dragged into lurkers either. As tempting as it looks to kill the small pack of non-lurker army, actually can't take it on. They've got burrow speed. They can actually support in an instant.
Obviously, the Morphin Archon's going to die, but the other Archon nearly got hit down by the lurkers. And it feels like soO just has too much once again. This has been the definition of that scrappy game, back and forth, and super small armies getting so much done. The amount of times soO's just had this Roach Hider Force that I didn't think could continue fighting, and then is able to pick off the final units. Madness, as we have the DT getting a few more kills a game, but now soO is going to have the 4th base under his control. There's nothing here from Drogo. What he has to pull up is going to go through these lurkers. And the Observer, he could jump on the lurkers. They're undefended.
Yeah, I think that's what he had to do. Unfortunately, taking extra shots, though, just because he didn't realize that they were there, takes him an opportunity to jump on them, kill them instantly, and maybe get to the army. It's gone now. He tries to save as many probes as he can, and it's almost all his probes are the way, guys. He is down to 0 mining with his base killed, with all the other bases totally mined out, where soO at least still has 2 bases mining, even as his own drones continue to go down to this DT. Drogo doesn't want to give up this game, man, but he is at 3rd of the army supply, and he's up against one of the most powerful units that Zerg can get, fully upgraded lurkers. They have the range, they have the speed burrow, and they have +3 attack.
And the lurkers work so well in this stage of the game because of how, cost efficient they can be with their splash damage. Also, just look at the fact that Drogo has no mining. None of his bases have any minerals. What are you meant to do? Long distance for days? That's his option, and that's why he's not able to stay in this game any longer. Losing the 4th base was really just a step too far, and that's what soO has been kind of looking for all game long. And now he finally gets it. it really might just be a game stopper.
Unfortunately, as cool as the comebacks have been, as many times as he's been in a situation where he's down 40 supply and brought it back to almost even, now he's down 100 supply, and I don't think even a dozen storms would bring that back. I mean, soO has actually been so cavalier about storms anyways. He chose a composition that really won't die to them, even as you just get rained on. He just didn't care. So now with 100 more supply than his opponent, he could easily just jump on top, but maybe a little bit of hesitation because it is kind of a scrappy game. He is a little worried about those ETs we throwing in. He's probably been in a few games like that. Didn't realize the top left was taken, for instance. But soO could actually, he just go for it. He could win.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why. I mean, at this point, he's just being a little bit careful, right? And just making sure he's like, I finally got you on the run a little bit. And, Drogo just sees the army and taps out. He does the job for him. soO was at that point where he was just making sure he's going to max out and then go because he knew the position. He knew Drogo wasn't buying, so time was obviously soO's best friend. And soO is going to make this our second 3-0 of the day, although this one may be a bit more, especially the last game, obviously a bit more drawn out, a bit more back and forth than what we saw in the ZVZ. It was still a pretty good series overall, right? It was still a very fun Cross versus Zerg, even if soO was the stronger player here. Was able to come out on top and was able to clean on up. And that puts us 2 games down, ZG, or 2 matches down. And so far, fun games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad we got to see Drogo actually perform better to what his ability can be. I think he's a little bit frustrated with the ping. I think a highlight of that game is his attack on the 4th base. Maybe he could have microed a bit better, but was frustrated basically. But it is what it is, and soO's able to take the 3-0 with also showcasing basically like every type of army that Zerg can. So well done to him. He moves on.
We stand as one. Are you gonna give me orders?